Hey guys, so continuing my body type series, I know there's some confusion about the body types, but we're gonna talk a lot about this soon, so stay tuned. And if you're new, you can check my body types playlist. I'm gonna leave the link down below. Sometimes people are confused just between two types or between three types. So today we're gonna talk about romantic as a type and then compare romantic to all other body types. So that will give you the right idea which one you are closer to. Let's first remember what is romantic. David Kibbe says about this in his book Metamorphosis, that romantic is the softest type out of all of them. She looks small, she is rounded, she has shortened limbs, she is soft, she has softer flesh, she has pretty rounded face, rounded cheekbones, rounded lips, full lips, rounded eyes, small nose, maybe pretty wide nose a little bit, and her bones are pretty delicate but slightly on a wider side. She looks pretty curvy. Very often she has hourglass figure. Why I say very often? Because people are very confused in this subject. As far as this is the only thing that they know, hourglass, pear shape, this is the only thing that they rely on. So let's not rely too much on the shape itself. So romantic versus theatrical romantic. What do they have in common? Their size is pretty smallish. They both look very feminine and lush. They both are curvy, soft, delicate. What is different? Theatrical romantic has slightly narrower bones. Her bones are slightly sharper. Theatrical romantic face is normally not as rounded. It is more narrow sometimes. Her eyes can be more upturned, her nose can be sharper sometimes, her jawline, her chin can be slightly sharper. She can have slightly sharper shoulders, she can have more narrow hourglass figure. Basically her facial bones and her body bones are slightly sharper. That's her dramatic undercurrent. That's why she's called theatrical romantic. That's the name David Kibbe gave. He found a very exact description of that type because he can't say dramatic romantic. Because the word dramatic itself, it sounds too severe for that type, right? So we needed to add some sharpness, a little bit, to call this type a theatrical romantic. Romantic versus dramatic, complete opposite. Dramatic is strong, vertical line, lean, thin bones, tall. She looks long. She has long limbs. She has different facial features. Her eyes are smaller and narrower. Very often her lips are smaller and narrower. She has very prominent and angular and sharp facial features and body features. She can have slightly squarish shoulders. And romantic is just opposite. And also dramatic can have a pretty straight figure, large hands, large feet, and romantic is, again, it's a complete opposite. By the way, if someone offers you typing in internet or in YouTube, be careful, because I've seen people who told me that somebody typed them a theatrical romantic type and they were dramatic type. Yeah, even that can happen because there's a lot more to that than just observing the shape. And we're gonna talk about Kibbe types confusion in one of my next videos. I'm gonna address the most common confusions. But now we are more specific. Romantic versus soft dramatic. Now I've seen so many people are stuck between these two. They both look soft. They both look rounded, pretty sexy, pretty feminine. They both can be pretty curvy. However, soft dramatic woman has dramatic bone structure. That means that she looks long, she looks pretty tall, she looks heavier in general just because of her bones. Her hands and feet look long, elongated. Her facial features are more exotic or prominent or sharp. And she's more angular just in general. Actually, I have a very interesting video about comparing the body types, and I show you the pictures where they basically physically stand. Dramatic woman stands close to soft gamine woman, and we can see the difference in their bone structure. That picture has been taken with the same angle, so these ladies are in the same space. So we can see the relations of their proportions, of their sizes, of their sharp features or more angular features or prominent or less prominent and stuff like that. So romantics are shorter, they're more delicate. Their facial features are more gentle, they're less prominent. When we place romantic and classic together, you would immediately see as a contrast that classic is more proportionate and a bit more on a masculine side. She's not masculine, classic by herself, but when you place her with romantic, she's a little bit more masculine, a little bit more angular. Classic is more balanced. She already has 50% of drama and 50% of softness, and it's mixed in a blender, and every part of her body is pretty much average. It's not very dramatic, it's not very romantic. And she's so balanced and symmetrical, so she looks more average also than romantic. Romantic already has some disproportions in her. Normally, romantics are more petite, but not always. Romantics are from moderate size to smallish to petite. And classics are normally moderate in size. And also classic is less juicy, less lush. She's drier, not as juicy, not as fleshy. Romantic and soft classic. Now, soft classic is a classic with romantic undercurrent, right? So she can be slightly smaller than classics. She can be slightly rounder than classic. She still looks slightly heavier than romantic. She still looks slightly more angular than romantic. However, they're pretty close. She's not as lush as romantic. Again, she's slightly drier, slightly more average. Too much ornateness or femininity in soft classic, it kills some elegance. And romantics, they normally look amazing in that rounded ornateness. Romantic and dramatic classic. Now, dramatic classic is classic with some drama in her. So she's more square, more angular. She's a bit closer to dramatic. She is still balanced. She's still proportionate. Romantics normally look smaller and more delicate. And dramatic classic doesn't look delicate in bones. And they don't look as small. They look moderate in size. Even if dramatic classic has some flesh, some rounded flesh that gives her appearance of more rounded person, then her bones are longer and they're more square and more angular. They're just more heavy looking. Romantic versus natural. Natural is moderate in size normally. Naturals look more muscular. And their figure, normally they have pretty wider chest area. They can have pretty square shoulders. They can have blunt bones on their face, slightly irregular, slightly prominent, slightly angular. And romantics, they're normally much more delicate. And many outlines of romantics' bodies or facial features are normally very, very rounded. So if you would draw a romantic woman, most of the lines that you would do are just circles basically, or soft lines, soft outlines everywhere. And naturals, no, naturals are more square with some blunt edges. They can have a slightly more square jawline. They just look more strong, basically. More strong and more square. Romantic versus soft natural. Soft natural is natural with romantic undercurrent, so it's slightly closer to romantics. And again, many people have confusion between those two. Soft natural is rougher, if I can say so. So soft natural's facial features, for example, they are less smooth. They can have slightly wider chest area, slightly smaller hips, or sometimes they can have wider hips as well. They can be slightly more muscular and slightly stronger looking, slightly heavier. They can also be pretty small in size, but normally they are more moderate in size. Soft naturals have less delicate bones. Their bones are wider. They are slightly squarish. Romantic versus flamboyant natural. Flamboyant natural is a very different story from romantics, and I've never seen people who confuse those two types. Flamboyant natural is a wide chest area, tall woman, pretty angular, squarish bone structure, pretty long limbs, long vertical line, elongated or squarish, irregular facial bones, facial features. So they just in general look more powerful, more heavy, and more rough than romantics. Romantic versus gamine. What do they have in common? They both are small. They are petite. Gamine's bone structure is more delicate and thinner. They have thinner bone structure, and they have more straight body type normally. They're like boyish or girlish, something like that. They're drier looking. Romantics are more feminine looking, more juicy looking. Even if gamine is slightly flashy, I'm gonna show you the example, you can still see the slightly different vibe of the body structure itself, of the bone structure. Gamines can have pretty long arms, for example. So their body can become slightly more elongated visually, more straight and elongated, even though they are petite. They have not as juicy facial features. Yeah, they can have pretty huge eyes. Sometimes they can have pretty full lips, but it's not more in lush and feminine direction. It's more into that childish and very youthful direction. And just in general, gamine's figure is more boyish and straight. Romantic versus soft gamine. And I'm actually gonna read that one from the book, because Kibi has a separate part of the book where he compares different body types, but he compares just several of them. maybe because most people have confusions between those two. So he compares romantic only to soft gamine in there. He says there that soft gamine is smaller, has more delicate bones, slightly angular shoulders and jawline, slightly square hands and feet, but still small and delicate. Body type is curvy, but trimmer and more taut. Romantic is larger. She has wider bones, wider body, curved shoulders, and jawline. Fleshy hands and feet. Body type is soft and lush, curvy. And last but not least, romantic versus flamboyant gamine. Also quite different types, I would say. Flamboyant gamines are also small. This is what is in common with romantics. Flamboyant gamines can also have pretty huge rounded eyes, for example. This is also a romantic thing. But just in general, when you look at flamboyant gamine, they are slightly squarish and muscular and slightly strong looking, slightly rectangular looking. Yeah, they are small. They have a lot of drama in them. Some muscularity, maybe some power in them. They have angular and broad bone structure. They sometimes look like tomboys. Romantics are soft, womanly, and delicate, gentle. I hope that clarified some confusion in your mind if you had some. Please let me know in the comments if I should continue and talk about other types same way, like dramatics, naturals, gamines and stuff. I can do that. You can subscribe on my Pinterest where I have 13 boards about each body type. Also, you can subscribe on my Instagram. I just post there random stuff about my life so you would know where I am, what I'm doing and stuff. Also, you can become my sponsor if you click that join button, and you're gonna have early access to some of my videos and some exclusive videos, and also the same things you get if you subscribe on my Patreon. And I'm gonna leave the link down below on that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.